All right, welcome back to another Tea Time event, everyone. If you've yet to attend one, the focus of our community tea times are for connection and communication. So continuing to build stronger relationships between our squad members, allow you to hear more about what goes on behind the scenes and get to know our squads a little bit more personally, which is always fun. For today's tea time, we're chatting to engineering manager and software engineer Zach with our senior visual and UI designer Thomas, who's in the background. So Clem and Zach, would you like to introduce yourselves and a little bit about the marketplace squad mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Clement. I'm the engineering manager. Was a bit of product owner for a while, but now we've got our amazing product lead, Ned, who's joined us. And we're quickly building out our team as well. And Zach, who's just recently joined us and already smashing it. Zach, do you want to introduce yourself a bit as well?
Yep, thanks, Clem. So, hi everyone, I'm Zach. I'm a new software engineer in the marketplace team. I've been at Immutable for about 2 months now, and it's going really quickly. Everything's going great.
Fantastic. And Tom, how about yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Tom. I'm the designer on the marketplace team. I've been at Immutable for over 2 years now, so I was there before Layer 2 was even a thing on our radar. We were actually building a payment system back then. So to date, I've been kind of trying to run and gun the whole show, but now that I've found a place on marketplace team, really focused on making this a really good space and a really good product.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, our mission going forward, which may or may not have been clear last year, is to build the world's best NFT gaming marketplace. So there's going to be a lot more renewed focus and budget poured into the marketplace going forward. So throughout this year, you should expect big, awesome changes that will make your lives better throughout your trading experience. So we'll try and run you through some of the roadmap that we have coming up in our first cycle, which is the first kind of third of this year. And hopefully you're really excited about the changes coming. A lot of it was based on community feedback and some of the issues that you've been having throughout tail end of last year. Tom has also got some cool designs and gifts to show you guys as well of what's coming soon. So without further ado, we'll go through some of those slides. Cool. So the first thing we want to add is mobile support to our marketplace. So right now, as you know, the marketplace is primarily very desktop focused, and we have a lot of mobile users, like I think 100,000+ a month, who currently don't have a very good experience or can't really trade on mobile. So we want to do two things. We want to add a responsive UI for our marketplace, which looks a lot more flashy, and also add Wallet Connect support as well, so you can buy, sell, deposit and withdrawal through your mobile phone, which is awesome. So firstly, we've got responsive UI, and I'll have Tom talk through some of the changes that we're going to make.
Yeah, so as Clem just mentioned, actually no responsive UI. That's going to change. One of the biggest changes is going to be the global nav, a refresh to it. That's going to move a lot of the functions and features into it. So you can see on the left-hand side there, we've got balances, which is going to give you your flows to deposit, withdraw, and transfer your ERC-20s. It's also a fully responsive nav. So in mobile, you're going to have those exact same features that you can access, which you can see on the right there. Along with that, a bunch of other responsive changes, Asset Details 2.0. So this is a refresh of the detailed view of individual NFTs. You can see that it's going to have also, again, responsive capabilities so that you can browse on your mobile. Applies to the inventory. Now, we moved a lot of the features. The intention is that we're moving a lot of the features that were previously in the inventory header area into the global nav. So what that's going to allow us to do is actually use that space for other features, which you can see on the left there, kind of previewed. We've got transfer and we've got deposits and withdrawing NFTs. And this is probably going to be some sort of multi-select feature later on. But good things to come. I think the next slide is to do with Wallet Connect. I think I'll throw that back to you, Clem.
Yeah, fantastic. We don't have any sort of like mock-ups for Wallet Connect per se just yet. So it's really kind of exploratory. We're implementing it. Hopefully, we're planning on getting it out at the end of March, maybe slightly beyond that. This is going to allow you to sign transactions on mobile and therefore allow you to actually trade on your mobile phone as well. And we expect this to increase a lot of like the trading volume and activity on our marketplace as well, because yeah, we just have so many mobile users, but none of them can do anything at the moment. And the addition with Wallet Connect as well is going to potentially add a lot more wallet support for our users in our marketplace as well. So right now, you may know we only support MetaMask, but with the addition of Wallet Connect, we should be able to support most of the popular wallets out there. We'll kind of go through and iteratively test out those different wallets to see what we officially support, but because they follow all the same protocols, it should mean a lot broader support for those wallets as well going forward. So then we also have NFT and ERC-20 transfers native in the marketplace. This has been something that has been asked for super heavily in Discord and our community throughout the last few months of last year especially. So we're super excited to bring this to our marketplace natively. And Tom will walk you through how some of this is going to happen.
Yeah, so kind of similar to what I mentioned before in terms of like the balances now holding those features, sorry, the nav holding the balance features. You can see on the left there, this person's accessing the transfer flow, which comes up in link, and they can just enter the currency they want to transfer. It'll show their balance. They'll enter an amount and then the recipient address, and they're good to go. The same kind of applies to NFTs. So on the right-hand side, you can see the mobile view of this where they can hit a transfer button. They'll pop up link, enter a recipient address, and just send it. And we're hoping that it really is going to be that straightforward and easy to transfer things natively. Multiple transfers is something that is on our radar, and we would like to develop that as well. But for now, we want to just try and make the single transfers on our marketplace a really consistent and strong experience. A better withdrawal experience. So, I think anyone that's used marketplace will know that the withdrawal experience for anything at the moment is a little bit it's a little bit sketchy. We don't tell you much, and it's because we didn't have much to tell you. But we're looking to change that. We're hoping to offer withdrawal states now, so you can see in these screenshots that there's going to be a progress bar and there's going to be stepped progress for each of your withdrawals, and you'll also be able to see them individually. And hopefully, this is going to keep any users a lot more informed during the process and help confidence in that regard, making sure that you know that your stuff is on the way and that it hasn't just disappeared from your inventory like it feels currently.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much more reassuring experience going forward for everyone.
We know it's bad.
Yeah. We do read and listen to all of your comments and feedback, so keep them coming. Sweet. Then we've got stacking, so asset stacking and offers. So again, we don't really have a prototype mock-up for this at the moment, but especially if you trade a lot of GU cards and potentially a lot of the other games that will be coming to IMX soon, you'll realize that there are a lot of copies of the same card, and you kind of have to scroll a very long time to find one that's the right price for you. We want to simplify this experience and stack all of the same assets together so that you can essentially click on that one asset and see all the different listings in one page, as opposed to scrolling through, 10 pages of listings to find what you're looking for. So this is also going to be especially powerful when we combine that with our offers capability that we're starting to flesh out and scope at the moment. We think the offers capability is going to offer a lot more liquidity across the protocol because it will essentially allow buyers to offer a more reasonable price for some assets out there. So I'll let Tom talk a bit more about his designs around offers.
This is super early days. It's just a little sneak peek into what we're doing, but essentially we're going to be offering we're going to be offering offer flows for the buyer. So it hasn't been decided yet whether we're going to be looking at allowing you to make offers in separate currencies, depending on separate currencies that, if someone's looking for USDC, whether you could offer them God's tokens for a similar value or not yet. But that's something that we are exploring. And actually, we'd love to hear your feedback on this and what your opinions are if we do roll that out in that way. But design-wise, not as much to show at the moment, unfortunately, because it's all kind of just developing. But yeah, stay tuned.
Cool, fantastic. Yes, please give us as much feedback as possible. We'll look to share more designs in Discord as we go throughout this year. And yeah, keen to get community feedback to see early on if this process is going to be helpful, if we should change the way things are structured to make it more beneficial for you and your process. Please let us know so we can factor that into our work as well. Awesome. So UX improvements. So as we add more people to the marketplace team throughout this year, we're going to focus on delivering a lot of small but impactful UX improvements throughout the marketplace as well. So in between all these big features, we're going to deliver a lot of these improvements. So this is a bit of an ugly spreadsheet, but it gives you some of the idea of all of the kind of UX improvements that we could make to our marketplace right now. We're going to try to be a bit more methodical going through our whole UX and identifying all of these UX issues or UI fixes that we need to make. And we're going to make these throughout the sprints as we go forward so that you'll see consistent improvements throughout the marketplace as well on a more regular basis instead of waiting for like a massive feature drop or waiting a few weeks for bug fixes and stuff like that. So please keep your feedback coming again. It informs what we do and prioritize them as well. So keep them coming. I think that might be... Oh, yeah. So just a quick recap on the order of when these bigger features are going to be dropping. So we've got mobile responsive UI refresh, which actually should be going out today. Parts of it will be going out today. I think there are a couple of follow-up pieces, but most of it should be out there today. So have a look around. Please give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of the new UI and the new design language. I'm sure Tom would love your feedback on that one. Then we've got mobile transaction support, which should be coming shortly after that. So we're kind of aiming for end of March, maybe slightly into April to deliver that one so you can transact on your mobile device. Then we've got NFT and ERC-20 transfers coming after that. This was probably, let's say, like maybe April, May, but no hard dates on that at the moment. And then followed by having a better withdrawal experience as well that we've shown. A couple of things that are a bit further ahead, but are going to be big changes is sort of like image optimization. So for regular users of the marketplace, you may have realized that maybe the loading experience has slowed down as more and more collections have jumped onto the marketplace. So the main reason for this is because they've been uploading a lot of really large original size images, which means you have to load a lot more content on those pages each time. So we're working on improving the image sizes on our pages and making sure they're optimized for each page so that your experience is a lot more fluid and rapid. So that will be coming as well. And then we've got stacking and offers, which we've talked about. And that's all aimed around improving the buying experience and also liquidity across the protocol and the marketplace.
I think there was but this is a question from me, but is there anything that you're prioritizing for the UX improvements? What would be the highest priority on that spreadsheet?
On that spreadsheet. So the ones in yellow are the ones that we're tackling very soon, probably in the next sprint, if not the sprint after. The reason, so this is sorted into actual like priority versus impact. The reason why we're not tackling the top two or like the other ones in between at the moment is they require a bit more discovery for us to tackle them properly. So the yellow ones are the ones that we've identified that are both high priority and we can action ASAP. So one, for example, is the changing the loading icon. So right now, when you try to initiate a couple of actions, so one would be like, for example, deposit into IMEX from L1. Like it shows this button with no explanation of what's actually happening. And if you're not familiar with the marketplace and how it uses the link pop-up window, you might be left there kind of doing nothing for ages, and that's not ideal. So we're going to be changing that button to include something more helpful, potentially like a helpful text, so that you know the link window is open and you need to action something inside link. So small kind of fixes like that, but could potentially really improve the user experience.
Definitely sounds like there's a lot of stuff on the roadmap coming up. There was a question from the community from Time asking, would it be difficult to implement NFT technology into existing games, or would new games have to be created with NFTs in mind for the infrastructure to work properly?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's not that difficult. So actually you can kind of create a token for all of your NFTs, and Immutable makes like an API available for you to be able to mint those tokens. And at the moment, it's kind of free to mint. So you can take any of your existing assets, mint something to it, and attach, like, say, an ID. So, for example, in your game, you might have an asset with like ID 3000. You can port that ID across to your NFT as well, so it's linked to your existing assets. So you can just create like a one-to-one reference between the NFT and your existing asset. So in terms of creating an NFT for an existing game, that's not difficult. What you may have to think more about is like, how does adding NFTs to your game affect your game's economics model? How users might play your game differently because of the NFTs, and how it might change your users' behavior. So I would think more about that. The technicals of creating the actual NFTs is actually quite simple, and we've tried to make that as simple as possible. But yeah, I would spend time on your game's economics and how your users' behaviors might change.
There are a couple of more, I guess, casual questions around the marketplace squad itself, and where is it that does the marketplace squad sit, and how does the dynamics work between you as the engineer manager, Clem, and Zach and Tom?
Yeah, so where does the marketplace sit within the protocol? That's a very good question. So we want to be able to, in relation to the protocol, we want to provide what we think a great experience on Immutable looks like, right? So, and we're moving towards that as a goal right now. So if people get introduced into IMX, we can say, hey, this is what an amazing experience on IMX looks like. There are going to be a lot of marketplaces out there that reach targets that we can't, or don't have the capacity to right now. And one example might be, say, a different region with different languages and different modes of operation. Right now, maybe like multilingual support, for example, is not in our current roadmap, so there's opportunities for other marketplaces to cover those niches and things like that as well. So we want to provide a really great default experience on IMX, and then become sort of the best NFT marketplace further down the line as well. And in terms of like a day-to-day relation within the team, I don't know if Zach or Tom, you wanna add how you feel about that at the moment. Maybe Zach, since you haven't had the chance to speak yet.
Yeah, can jump in here. So, I mean, working day to day within the teams is like quite good. We communicate quite well together. We're always jumping on and helping each other out with things. I think it's quite important for the engineering and design to be communicating together to make sure that what we're actually building is up against the designs, and it's been great, working with Tom on building some of the mobile responsive stuff. So Yeah, if you want to jump in, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, from a practical sense, like what it looks like at the moment, some of us are working remote. So, as an example, Zach and I yesterday, we were jumping on Slack huddles to literally screen share and just go through, the code and against the designs. That's kind of how that works. Myself, I work really closely with Ned, Ned being our product lead, on figuring out kind of where the product should go, and I kind of support him through the design side of things. And yeah, I think we have daily stand up rituals like that. What else do we have? We have sprint planning, a lot of the typical agile environment stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty much our day to day, I think.
Yeah, and something we've changed a lot is incorporating design a lot more into the software development cycle and sprints, right, Tom? So like it's kind of a bit different to previous teams where like design kind of set outside the software team. So how
Yeah.
does that impact you?
Yeah, so previously and in some other teams, design is more like a consultant to the engineering team, where engineering and product kind of, well, this is the way that we may have worked previously, where kind of product and engineering figure out what the thing they want to make is, and then design comes in to consult on that and produce specs. That didn't really work very well for us. And so now we have design and product embedded with the engineering team. So we're actually one unit. When we go through our priorities, when we go through discovery, we kind of do it all together. And one thing that I really try to do when we do the designs is bring engineers in as early as possible so we can do like just feasibility sanity check. Like, is this thing that I'm dreaming up, is that actually physically possible, or does it need more work? Is it going to cost a lot? Answering questions like that early on is super key. So the way our team is structured now, I think, is working quite well, and we're hoping to accelerate way faster as we go.
Yeah, I think that works well, Tom, with having engineers and designers and product all in the meeting together, because we can, some things that design would say we can do it this way is technically a lot harder, but then if we can just tweak the design a little bit, then it becomes a lot easier for the engineers to implement, and then we can basically give that same experience. So yeah, it's good to be working together.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of interesting to me, because I always think that engineering is kind of on the other side of the spectrum from design, but having them together in one unit, it makes a lot of sense, because then, as you mentioned, Tom, the feasibility sanity check, does this actually work? And then so I'm curious, how does that have you seen that translate out to users in terms of this change structure?
I think it's going to be one of those things that you don't really notice it when things are working well. Like if we're producing products that function, they kind of become invisible in that you just don't notice them because nothing goes wrong. But I can say that in the earlier days, especially at Immutable, where we didn't have this squad structure. I mean, this squad structure that we've got now is fairly recent. In the earlier days, it was very chaotic, and I think that it'd be hard to quantify, but the quality of the experiences that we're trying to deliver would have not been as high quality. But again, hard to quantify, but internally, definitely felt.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And this kind of like segues into my next question, which was, how did all three of you get into Immutable, and where was Immutable at when you had joined, and how have you seen it change since then?
Yeah. Tom, do you want to start first, because you've been here the longest?
I'm almost an OG, maybe. I came to Immutable kind of by accident. Previously, I was at Riot Games. I was a lead visual designer for our publishing team here in Australia, and I was there for about 4 years working on League of Legends publishing stuff, especially around esports. When I joined Immutable, I honestly didn't care about blockchain or crypto. I didn't like it. I bought crypto because all my friends bought it, and I had heavy FOMO. But I didn't really believe in it. I thought like this is magic money, and it's just gonna be worthless until Immutable came along, and the value prop of NFTs as game items, me myself being a hardcore gamer, was like, it just blew my mind. I had never thought of it, and I was like, this makes so much sense. Why doesn't everyone do this? And I was like, I need to join, and I need to help make this into an actual thing. When I joined Immutable, though, we weren't looking at layer 2. We weren't looking at this type of marketplace, anything like that. We were looking at a payment system, so developing a payment gateway that could support credit card, get mainstream users, mainstream gamers into having assets in NFTs. So it was kind of like on the same breath, but it definitely wasn't the product that we're focused on building out now. And it took, quite a long time, over the 12 months, over a year and a half of discovery before we kind of leaned into what we're doing today. So, a lot of those early days were a little bit up in the air. I have to admit, like, especially for design, we didn't have many resources at the time. For the longest time, it was only 2 designers across the entire company. It was myself and a UX designer called Jillian, and we just tried to run and gun. We just tried to do everything, and it was difficult, but it's great that we're now at a point where we have a semblance of a foundation that we're going to be growing on. We have the design function being built out now, so there's exciting times ahead, and we're definitely going to mature there.
I would like to hear about Zach. How did you get here as well?
Yeah, so it was last year in my previous role. I was chatting to a co-worker who also now works at Immutable, and she said, "Oh, hey, check out this company that I'm going to," and I was like, "Oh." Looked up the website, layer 2 scaling solution on Ethereum. I was like, this sounds interesting. And over the next month or so, I just did a bit of a deep dive into crypto, NFTs, and what Immutable was trying to do in the space. And like Tom, the thing that really drew me to the company is the idea of, in-game items being such a massive industry, and so much money being spent on in-game items, and players not owning any of their assets or not being able to trade them outside of that game. And making that available is something that's really motivating to me to work on. So after that, I've only been here for about 2 months, so I joined at the start of the year in January. And I guess the biggest thing that I've seen, change, it all seems quite new to me, but what I see is constantly happening is how fast we're recruiting good people into the business. I think since I've joined, there's been about 30 other new hires behind me. So it feels like we're growing really, really quickly, and hiring the right people into the right roles. So it's exciting times, looking forward to the future.
Yeah, well, I've been here for just under a year. I think a year is coming up in 29th of March. So somewhere in between Zach and Tom. And yeah, so my journey to joining Immutable, I was actually quite interested in the blockchain space about a year and a half ago, and how it might apply to the legal space, because I come from a more commerce law background, and only got into engineering about maybe 4 or so years ago. And so I knew the next company that I wanted to work for was either a blockchain or a legal startup company. And I moved to Sydney in January and started looking for roles. And I think a few recruiters reached out to me all about Immutable. One was kind of a really dodgy, blacklisted recruiter, who had fake job descriptions and stuff like that. So that's a pretty dramatic and interesting story. But I almost didn't end up at Immutable because of them. So thankfully, some other recruiters who were official reached out, and I ended up at Immutable. So I'm also a really avid gamer myself. I've spent a lot of money on the Steam store. Some of you might be able to relate to that. And in the Steam store, the more you spend and the more value the items get, you can't really cash out for USD unless you do some illegal off the books trading with other users. So that was kind of really annoying. So I thought, Immutable's doing something really cool with NFTs being owned by the players instead of the companies. I think there's a huge potential there for gamers to use gaming as another source of income, which is really cool because everyone's always thought, gaming, what a waste of time. You're not making any money. You're just sinking time into it. But I think with NFTs, that's going to completely flip it around. And maybe in like 10 years' time, if it's not already happening now with pro gamers, you'll see kind of average everyday players being able to make money off games. And I think that's really, really cool. They can use it to improve their lives. If their day job's not paying them enough for a house, maybe gaming is going to, push them up to be able to improve their life that way and buy their first home or something like that. And I think there's something really, really cool to that. So I really believe in what Immutable is doing with gaming, and I think it's going to make gaming a way more acceptable career in some people's eyes. So yeah, I think there's huge potential there. And in terms of how Immutable has changed in the past year, it's gone from being like really hectic and crazy, running around doing different things, launching things on a kind of like very short notice period, to being a lot more focused on like quality and stable releases. We're hiring more people. It's a lot less stressful, and we're hiring really like top world-class people who come in and improve our processes, and will ultimately lead to a better product, better marketplace for all of our users as well.
Awesome. What I really like about this conversation is that we have 3 different types of people, I guess, but all joined by the same thought that NFTs are the future. And I just wanted to kind of jump into the word of world class. And I know that the mission of the marketplace is to build a world class marketplace.
Yeah.
How does everyone define what world class marketplace mean?
Wow, asking the tough questions. Like it. Yeah, so I think, world class. So currently, OpenSea has like, I don't know, something like 90% of NFT trading volume across ETH. So we'd like to be able to compete with that in that arena. So who knows, maybe we can say like we'll get 50% equal with OpenSea would be a great start, or something like that. I think the pie is going to grow overall over the next 5 years, and would love to be able to say like we're second next to OpenSea, or even maybe beyond that, in terms of trading volume on ETH, and potentially, that'd be amazing. I don't know about Zach and Tom.
I mean, aspirationally, as a designer, my view of our marketplace being world class is when the NFT part of it is sort of invisible. It's the place where gamers go to buy and trade their game assets. Whether they're NFTs or not, it starts becoming irrelevant because it's so commonplace. It's just a completely accepted thing. I think that is ultimately the goal. For me, within design discipline, one of the phrases I always repeat is that our goal is to make blockchain invisible. And what that really means isn't literally to take away all the custody and all the user control, but rather make it so easy and so commonplace that it just blends into something that you do every day. Because when you use your credit card, when you do tap to pay, when you do any of that stuff, it feels invisible because something that you just do all the time, and it's not hard. It's just part of your routine. And I think that to me makes the marketplace world class, when you don't even realize what's good about it because it exists, and that's what it is.
Yeah, good answer, Tom. I haven't really thought too much about world class marketplace. I'm sort of just focused on making it the best experience it can be at the moment. I'd love to see more games come onto the protocol, and more in-game items traded on the marketplace as well. And just making that a seamless experience and making that normal for people to play games and to be able to trade their items and sell them for crypto and be able to buy other things with that. yeah, I just want to make that as normal as possible.
Like you said, normal, Zach. Make it normal. Like that. It's so true though. Like it's just you just go there and you do your thing and then you leave. That's it. And
Yeah,
that's world class because it was nothing. It was just nothing. It's just normal everyday thing.
it's having digital ownership be something that everyone understands as well. So like you can own something physically, but then NFTs are all about digital ownership, and just being able to trade and buy and sell things in the digital world should be just as seamless as they are in the physical world.
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about like world class being equating to normalizing NFTs, and yeah, definitely the mainstream adoption is something that I guess most of like a common mission of crypto companies overall, I feel. Not sure if you agree, but I wanted to hear about the payment system. I think, Tom, you mentioned that Immutable had previously been a payment system, or you were aiming to go into a payment system, but then what was the pivot for that?
So when we called it the shopfront. So those that had played Gods Unchained, I think you may remember during the second expansion release, we had a shopfront that popped up on the website where you could use credit card to buy the cards. That was the payment system that I was describing, essentially a shopfront. And the idea was that it was something that any game could just plug in and do a release on, and they could then accept payment through ETH or through credit card. And that was like the product that we were trying to build out. It was later on, like after we built that out, that I think the founders probably saw a wider vision for this. Instead of just helping games sell the NFTs, why don't we actually allow everyone to sell NFTs and trade them? And I think that's probably where it kind of grew from, that notion of empowering everyone to do their thing as opposed to just game developers in that sense.
Right, so this kind of touches back into the normalization, if that was a thing.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's a really good way to put it. Normalization, make it a world class experience by making it a normal experience. But it's totally true, and I think obviously our founders definitely had a vision for this much deeper. It's probably way earlier before we were working on the payment system, but I think that project kind of just was the spark that was like, hey, I think this is a great value prop, and then we kind of just went ham into it afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's really cool how the mission kind of changes and it kind of grows out of you have like an original seed of an idea, and then you kind of go with it, and it just changes along the way over time. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I think it it definitely evolves, but I think ultimately our mission has always been and will always be to make digital real, to make it quantifiable and make it true, but or make it normal. That's I guess we're coining a new term.
Yeah, it's become the keyword normalization.
I don't want to take away the hype and just say, oh, it's just normal. But if any, I'm sure people here have tried to explain NFTs to their family, and it's not as easy as it sounds. So having the idea of what digital ownership is be well understood, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still having trouble explaining to my family. They're like, what exactly is it that you do? And I'm just like, you know what? I just spend a lot of time on Discord, so.
The JPEGs.
Yeah.
What's a JPEG?
Speaking of digital ownership, how would you kind of speak about that to someone else?
Digital ownership to someone. I think it is a tough one, eh? Like, I think the way that I see it is I use my own kind of like Steam example most of the time when I explain it to people. So, instead of a company owning your assets, it's the people owning their assets. And, that allows you to move them in and out of the systems that are built by like game developers, for example. Provides more liquidity and options for players to take money in and out, which I think enables to kind of the thing that I want, which is allowing people to use gaming as a secondary source of income. And it's a system that allows that to happen. Like digitized assets, I don't know if that's maybe the best term sometimes, because there are already digitized assets, but not digital ownership, if that makes sense. So like, if you go into League or, a Steam powered game, you can still buy digital assets, but they're not NFTs. So you can't like move them out of the. So I think digital ownership is what NFTs really bring. So it's more around the ownership side as opposed to just being digital. Whereas it depends which arena you apply to, because we're focused on gaming. A lot of the gaming assets are digital anyway. But if you're talking about digitizing things like, the deeds to a house, or like some other legal documents, for example, hopefully this is not too boring, but like, or like supply chain assets. I think like, what's it? StockX was using NFTs to digitize ownership to like sneakers and stuff like that. So that's where the digital stuff makes more sense, and it allows you to power things like creating a secondary market for shoes without actually having the shoes themselves. And there might be a big debate about derivatives, and how they, having derivatives of real world assets and being able to trade them. So I think that's what NFTs can also power.
Digital have today, like in-game items today is, one of the things that makes it different is that you can't actually sell that in-game item, to someone else. And the other thing is you can't really take it with you if you wanted to leave. So something that you can do in the physical world if you own something is obviously you can take it with you. You're not locked into like using that asset within that game. And the other thing is you can sell it again. So yeah, just having ownership of a digital asset is sort of, being able to sell it and being able to take it with you is the things that I think that I see is different with NFTs.
One thing I would add is that like the JPEG joke I made before. I think when you talk about game assets, it's when it makes the most sense. So people say, "Oh, why did you buy that NFT for like $1 million? I just right-clicked it." It doesn't work in a game sense because you can take a screenshot of the game item, but dude, you can't use it in the game you're playing. Only I can because I own it digitally. Haha. So I think that's the power of it. You can't right-click my utility.
Yeah.
I noticed that we kind of have a couple of minutes left. I have 2 more questions, and I promise they're not as esoteric. What would be the most exciting thing in the next 6 months for the Marketplace Squad?
Oh, that's a good question. Zach and Tom, do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, not even in the next 6 months, but what's exciting to me is being able to connect, from your mobile wallet as well, like being able to browse NFTs from your phone, being able to buy and sell from your phone, and not be restricted to having to do that on a desktop. That will be coming soon, but then the next 6 months is a lot can happen. So yeah, Tom, I'll pass to you.
I was going to say the mobile stuff, in that I think once we have good mobile, existent mobile usability, to be able to feel like you're carrying your collection in your pocket, like you can log into Immutable X, you can browse your inventory on your phone. I think that's gonna be a bit of a magic moment where you're like, hey, my items are in my pocket. To have that feeling.
I feel like you should be on the marketing team for this, Tom. Like that was great. Like we should say you're carrying your collection in your pocket.
Items are in your pocket.
These one-liner gems, man.
Oh wow. You can moonlight on the marketing.
Yeah. I mean, I did for the past 2 years before we added more people. So I've done it all.
Yeah, and I think for me, the most exciting thing in the next 6 months, will definitely be some of that like offers capability. I think it's really going to open up kind of a lot more liquidity across the protocol. So I'm really keen to see how that like impacts the way people trade. All different assets from, like gaming utility assets to Ps and so on. So that'll be really interesting to watch.
Definitely. Yeah, as soon as I saw the mobile connect, I was like, our community is going to go nuts with this. Like, this is what they've been asking for. It's amazing. All right. One last question from me is, what would be a fact that the Immutable community would be surprised to know about you?
You said they weren't going to be massive questions.
I've been trying really hard.
What would be interesting? Yeah, I don't know. Tom or Zach, do you want to go first?
Okay. Fun fact: I have more body parts than most people.
Oh,
Because I have a transplant. I have an extra kidney in my body. Is that surprising?
An extra? Yeah, that is definitely surprising. An extra
There
kidney.
you go. There you go. Yeah.
Wait, what does the extra kidney do? Oh wait, I'm not sure if this might be
it-
polite.
It does it does kidney things. I had my original kidneys were no good. They were not performing up to spec. So we added another one. We patched it in a new version.
Nice one. I think for me, it's just I enjoy playing piano outside of work, like just for fun. I wouldn't say I'm that good at piano, but I have a few songs that I like to play. So
What's your favorite song to play?
probably "Sweet Caroline." That usually gets
I'm
people
so
up and about and
surprised, Zach.
singing. So yeah, fun.
very smooth. Very smooth.
Clem, you need to give a fact now. We've both done it.
Okay. Well, I used to do like management consulting competitions and managed to have dinner with the Prince of Denmark once, which was really cool. I know, like how excited I was, but like it was actually more stressful than fun, because like the monarchy, they have a lot of rules. So when you have dinner with them, you can't like start your course before they do. So everyone was kind of like, because I was facing away from the prince at the time, and then so like your friends would tell you when like they've started eating. It was hilarious. Like we had to have people watch the prince to see when he started eating so we could start like it was very stressful. So I don't know if it was like really fun. It sounds exciting, but I think when you're in the moment, like a bit more stressful than it needs to be. So yeah, it was an experience for sure.
That's a great story. Why did you struggle to come up with that? You should just said that straight away. What do you mean? Have that one ready, Clem, next time. Anyone ask you,
maybe.
tell me something interesting about you. Say that story.
Yeah, I'll bring that one up.
The monarchy.
Did you have to do the thing with the little spoons?
Yeah, they were all ordered, and you had to use specific spoons and specific forks for specific meals. Like it was really intense. And then like there were like, I don't know, heaps and heaps of waiters and then a lot of pairing. And at the time I wasn't really into like fancy food and stuff, so I was always talking about like, why is the dish like so small? There's like nothing on this plate. Like, I don't know if you know me, I don't like a lot of veg, so like it was really hard for me actually that dinner. So yeah, it was interesting.
Here's a fun fact. The only meal Clem and I have shared was Macca's. I've
Yeah.
just realized.
Wow.
Yes, we should change that.
All right. I've noticed that we're at time today. Thank you so much, everyone, Clem, Zach, Tom, and community for your time. And I will talk to you all soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Thanks for having us.
everyone.